Ani, Bojo, Linda Nindishnakas, Woodstock Nindonjaba, Orillia Ate Ni Odam. As we begin here today, welcome. My name is Linda Rodenberg. I'm the interim principal here at the Orillia Campus. And if you're not familiar with Anishinaabe, the last thing that I said there is that Orillia is where my heart lives. And one of the things that I really noticed last night as we were participating in the GradFlix workshop or the GradFlix event is that for so many of our graduate students, their work is really tied to the places that they come from and the communities that they are serving through the work that they are doing. And I think that really aligns with the values of this place and the values of the Indigenous people that we need to acknowledge as we begin this event. So this is the land of the Anishinaabe. Here that includes the Ojibwe, Adawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We have a very special friendship with our local First Nation, Rama First Nation, also known as Minjikining. And I shared with a group of you a couple of days ago, Minjikining, the Anishinaabe word, that means the fish fence. And it's named for a location here where people have gathered from across Turtle Island since time immemorial to come together to learn from each other. And even though they didn't all speak the same language, even though they didn't all see the world in exactly the same way, those Indigenous nations have been gathering here to learn from each other in that place. And so we try to carry on the spirit of that work, and I've spoken to elders about carrying on the spirit of that work in this space that really we are so thankful to them for providing us with as we move forward as an institution. And Lakehead is really committed to reconciliation as part of the work that we do. And I think this competition, there's something about 3MT that really reminds me of that idea of people coming together, not all studying the same things, not all speaking the same language, but being able to contribute to a really common discourse of innovation and thinking about the world in new ways. And so I thank you so much for being here today. I thank our students for being here, and I welcome you, and I wish you good luck as you do this really incredible thing and share with us the story about the work that you're doing here today. So thank you for that. As we begin, I think we are going to have a really wonderful welcome today from one of the key figures for us here at Lakehead University in terms of shepherding our academic vision as an institution forward. And so a colleague of mine and really a wonderful person to work with, I'm here to welcome our Provost and Vice President Academic, Dr. David Barnett.
Wow. Thanks, Linda. That was a very warm welcome. I'm not sure I can live up to that. But thank you so much, and good afternoon. It's not afternoon quite yet. It's good morning, everyone here, and welcome to everyone. It's fantastic to see you here on our Lakehead University Orillia Campus for the 3 Minute Thesis competition. I'm so very pleased that you can be with us here at Lakehead University as we host the annual event. It's a terrific time for professional development opportunity for our graduate students and from around the province. So as many of you are likely aware, the 3MT is a communication exercise providing an opportunity for graduate students to convey their scholarly research and creativity. It challenges graduate students to present their research in just 180 seconds. That's an amazingly short period of time. They have the use of one static PowerPoint slide, and they need to do this in a way that conveys their research to an audience that may not necessarily be familiar with their subject matter area. That's not easy to do, and so, really kudos to everyone that's involved in the competition. The competition does happen locally at each Ontario university before we get here, and it sends the winner to the Provincial 3MT competition, which again we're very happy to host this year. This year, in conjunction with the Provincial 3MT competition, there's numerous other activities being held on our campus. The GradFlix Showcase event, which I believe was last night, that many of you maybe attended. The Ontario Council of Graduate Studies Dean's Retreat is happening, and so welcome to the deans and associate deans that are with us as well, and the Graduate Officers Professional Development Conference. I know a lot of people have put in a lot of work to make this all happen, and it's been fantastic so far from everything I've seen. I saw the luncheon set up outside. That's incredible. But I'd like to particularly thank Dr. Chandra Shahi and his team for all of their work, and of course Linda and everyone here on the Orillia campus for putting everything together on this end. And so lastly, congratulations to everyone that's involved in the competition. It's an incredible achievement to be here, and I really look forward to seeing what your research really entails. I know we have some other dignitaries, the mayor, the chancellor are both here, so welcome as well. And if I've missed anyone, I'll let Linda cover that. So thanks, everyone. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you, David. I opened by saying that Orillia is where my heart lives, and I know this is very, very true for the person we're going to hear from next, our incredible mayor, Mayor Don McIsaac.
Thank you. My name is Don McIsaac. I'm the mayor of Orillia. And on behalf of the City Council, I'd like to thank you for the invite and thank Lakehead for hosting. This speech is about 5 minutes, so don't throw the DQ flag for me here. I need a little bit of help. I'd like to welcome the students taking part in the 3-minute thesis competition. I hope you have the opportunity to explore all that Orillia has to offer. Education is not just about memorizing facts and figures. It is about critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. It teaches us how to analyze and interpret information, question assumptions, and make informed decisions. These skills are essential in our rapidly changing world, and we face complex challenges that require innovative solutions. The presence of educational institutions like Lakehead and Orillia plays a significant role in promoting higher learning and equipping our community with skills needed to identify and address local issues. The ability to synthesize complex information to make it engaging and accessible, as well as presented in a compelling way, is cited in all industries, especially in municipal government and the public service. I've spent my life getting a lot of hard lessons, and one of the lessons I've had is that brevity is an art. So I look forward to seeing what you have to say. I think in a lot of cases, less is more, and hopefully in your analysis and presentations today, you've got that down. I wish you all well. Good luck. Megwich, merci. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor McIsaac. We now have a video from the Minister of Colleges and Universities, who also happens to be our local MPP, Jill Dunlop. She really hoped that she could be here today, but she had pressing business that she had to deal with in Toronto, and so she couldn't be here. But she did prepare a message for us today, so we'll play that message now.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to kick off this year's 3-minute thesis competition. Although I'm unable to join you in person today, I'm thrilled to share a few words before you jump into your pitches. And in the spirit of today's competition, I'll keep it brief. 180 seconds. That's how much time you have today to summarize your research. Considering the years of your academic career, I know 3 minutes will be hard, but I'll tell you why it's important that you can. Ontario is a hub for groundbreaking research in Canada. Our world-class colleges and universities are creating opportunities for our brightest students like you to advance new discoveries and innovations. It's why our government recently announced $278 million to support hundreds of research projects across the province, and why today's event serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of not only bridging the gap between scholarly research and its practical application, but also having the ability to speak concisely about how your research can make a real impact. This may seem like a lofty goal here today, but if we get back to basics and start small, 180 seconds small, a well-researched idea that's communicated in an engaging way can be the start of something big. I would like to thank Lakehead University for organizing today's competition, and good luck to all of you. I look forward to hearing how the pitches go. Thank you.
And thank you to Minister Dunlop for preparing that video for us here today. All right. I am going to introduce our judges in just a moment and tell you a little bit about who they are. But I do want to acknowledge before we get into that, that we also have our incredible chancellor here with us today. Rita last night was part of our GradFlix experience, and she hosted that for us. It was an incredible event, and she's just an exceptional part of our community. So thank you so much, Rita. There she is at the back. Thanks, Rita, for being here. All right, let me tell you a little bit about our judges. So first up, we have Catherine Killam. Catherine is the Community Engagement and Innovation Manager at Camp Hill Communities here in Ontario. She is a community connector and project manager supporting the development services sector. She's energized by large-scale collaborative projects, and she's particularly interested in fitting all the different pieces together to create a meaningful, exciting, and sustainable whole. So welcome, Catherine. And if you can just kind of wave and let everybody know who you are, that would be great. Sure. We okay? Okay. Next up, we have Carmen Stumpo. Carmen Stumpo is the president and CEO of Orillia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, which is OSMH for those who are local. Carmen brings over 25 years of healthcare experience as a clinician and leader in a wide range of clinical and support services. Since joining OSMH in July 2018, Carmen has been a strong advocate for values of high-quality local healthcare. He has provided system leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic, including support for testing, for vaccination, and for community outreach. He has provided strategic leadership in transforming care through integration and close partnership with primary care, other healthcare, and community service providers. Carmen has also engaged the OSMH community in long-range planning that will support this vision of integrated care with a modernized facility for OSMH. Prior to OSMH, Carmen was the former Vice President, Programs at Michael Garron Hospital in Toronto. Carmen has a Bachelor's of Science in Pharmacy from the University of Toronto, a doctorate in pharmacy from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, and an Executive Master's in Business Administration from Athabasca University. Welcome, Carmen. Next up, we have Nicole Norris. As the Director of Social Innovation, a department under Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at Georgian College, Nicole is one of Ashoka U's Changemaker Campus leads. Nicole leads a talented team of changemakers at Georgian. She's considered a pracademic, which is a practitioner and an academic. Nicole brings almost 18 years of corporate industrial design experience, advocating for life-centered approaches within innovations in the technology and consumer electronics industries. She attended Lakehead University, both for undergraduate and graduate design degrees, earning a master's in strategic foresight and innovation. Her master's work explored the accessibility of participatory business modeling, tools, and their ability to support organizations as they evolve towards more compelling social and environmental impacts. She is currently completing her PhD in informatics. She's focused on participatory, community-led data to drive inclusive and future-ready communities. She's doing that at Halmstad University in Sweden. Nicole is curious about complexity and believes if we are able to achieve the vision laid out in the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we need to design, together, new systems that move beyond doing less harm and instead heal. Welcome, Nicole. Are you able to advance it from there? Next up, we have Steve Loftus. Steve is the CEO and a founding partner of the Innovative Group of companies. These companies include Innovative Automation, Mech Smart Systems, and Robotape. Over the past 10 years, he has led the group to 4 times growth, an active angel investor and the chair of the Georgian Angel Network, with key investments in several startups. Steve supplies needed financial inputs, but also mentorship and technical support. A strong supporter of the local community with major investments in United Way, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and Royal Victoria Regional Health Center, he contributes to leading-edge VR training for staff. To tap into the brilliant minds of our youth, he opens his advanced manufacturing facilities to robotics clubs, high schools, and post-secondary institutions to attract future innovators. To help guide the education process, he is an active member of the board and is a past member of multiple advisory committees at Georgian College. Welcome, Steve. And our final judge is Matt Mahoney. Matt is a seasoned public policy leader with over 13 years of dedicated service to advancing Ontario's economic prosperity. As Manager of Innovation Strategies in the Ontario Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, Matt develops and orchestrates a symphony of ideas, policies, and programs aimed at propelling Ontario as a global innovation and technology powerhouse. In his career journey, Matt has acted as a catalyst of strategic economic initiatives as the policy lead in the Executive Office of the Deputy Minister. He has also designed and delivered investment support mechanisms for businesses while spearheading initiatives in international trade, sector strategy development, and regulatory modernization. He pursued a passion for entrepreneurship and global affairs through his leadership of Leader Project, a not-for-profit that empowers business students to teach entrepreneurship in emerging economies worldwide. Prior to working in government, he worked in consulting and maintains a fusion of academic rigor and real-world pragmatism, holding an MBA from Ivey Business School, an MSc in Philosophy and Public Policy from the London School of Economics, and an Honours Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and History from Queen's University. Welcome, Matt, please. That's right. You stay right here. This is Taylor. Round of applause for Taylor. Okay, so as you can see, we have some incredible judges here today, and I think that what their bios tell me is that the students who are participating today should really feel like their work will be validated and heard and engaged with, but you shouldn't be intimidated because all of these judges are so present for innovation, and I think they're encouraging members of our community here in Simcoe County. So thank you so much to our judges. Okay, so I'm going to go now quickly through the rules. I know everyone here is very prepared, the students are very prepared, and they know the rules, but just so that we all understand the parameters of this competition, students have 3 minutes to present their research, and if they exceed those 3 minutes, they will be disqualified. So we do have someone here who is, when I said that I was so excited about this event coming to this campus, I said, I'll do anything you want me to do as long as I don't have to have this position, and that's the position of the timer. So thank you so much to my colleague, Chris Glover, who has taken on that role. And so what will happen is the timer is here and helping the students make sure that they stick to the time. You'll see Chris hold up a red paper when 10 seconds remain. Okay, so thank you, Chris, for taking on what felt like the most intimidating role of this entire project. Students are not permitted any notes or props. They have one static slide that you will see projected onto the screen. And we'd also like to note at this time that some accommodations have been made to these rules for medical reasons for some of the students involved. So those are the rules of the competition. Now, what we didn't want to do was start and go halfway through the students and then have a break in the middle of the competition. We thought that that would not be a really lovely way to set this up. So what we're actually going to do is right now, even though we've had a short amount of time together so far, we are going to take a 10-minute break so that the students can get prepared and ready. Grab a glass of water if you'd like one. Everyone here, if you'd like to, if you're looking for the restroom facilities, you just exit out of this room and go down to the end of the hallway in this direction, and the restrooms are down there. So you have about 10 minutes. Actually, no, you have exactly 10 minutes until we're going to get started. And at 9 minutes, 50 seconds, Chris is going to hold up the red card, and then we're all going to get going with the competition. So we'll be right back here in 10 minutes' time. Thanks, everyone. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Okay, I can feel the excitement in the room. It's really great. There's a wonderful energy here. And I'm sure that all of these students would like me to stop talking and get to it. So I will do just that. Our first student is Rebecca Messias. And Rebecca is working on her MSc in kinesiology, and the title of her piece is "The Role of Coaches in Normalizing Abusive Behavior Towards Referees in Youth Ice Hockey." Rebecca, you are up.
Hockey is a great opportunity for youth to become physically active and gain many social skills, such as leadership, teamwork, confidence, but most importantly, a general lack of respect for referees. Growing up playing hockey, I never thought twice about yelling at a referee if I didn't agree with their calls. It didn't matter who you were playing for or who you were cheering for. We could all agree that our number one enemies were the referees. It wasn't until I became a referee that I saw this issue from a new perspective. Headlines in the media reflect the physical and verbal abuse that referees face that have escalated to the point of police intervention and criminal charges of assault. Within my own personal experience, the major source of this abuse has been from coaches. I have had grown adult men scream at me and threaten me. As I've skated by the bench, I've had a coach take a water bottle and squirt me in the face. I've had a coach take a player's stick and walk out into the middle of the ice and mock me as if I were blind. And I've had to be escorted to my car after multiple games, just in case they try to approach me. To make matters worse, this has all happened within the past year of me living in North Bay, with teams consisting of athletes aged 9 to 13. Coaches who are in leadership positions have the ability to set standards for what they consider to be acceptable behavior for their athletes. If they're constantly modeling this abusive behavior towards officials, these athletes will then think that it is okay to do this behavior as well. My experiences have really affected my mental health, and after 7 seasons of refereeing, I wanted to quit. My experiences align with many other referees across Canada, and this is why we're seeing a national decline of referees. Therefore, the purpose of my research is to examine the role of coaches in normalizing abusive behavior towards ice hockey referees and to determine if there's a cause and effect relationship in this context between coach behavior and athlete behavior. Coaches need to understand the damaging effects that this abusive behavior can have on the impressionable minds of their youth athletes. I am a strong believer that all stakeholders within youth ice hockey deserve to have a positive experience, and this starts with the behavior of coaches. Athletes and referees deserve better. After all, it is just a game. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And as the speakers finish up, our Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Chandra Chahi, is going to give them their certificates. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, our next student is Daniil Lissas. Daniil is a PhD student at the University of Toronto Institute for Aerospace Studies, and the title of this piece is Helping Autonomous Cars See What Your Eyes Can't. Daniil.
What are the worst driving conditions that you've ever experienced? My worst experience happened during a huge winter snowstorm. I was driving on the highway and the snow was coming down so hard that I couldn't see anything around me. I remember feeling afraid that I would crash into someone or drive off the road. Thankfully, I made it home safe that day. But according to Transport Canada, up to 20% of fatal car crashes are influenced by bad weather. Now, I work in autonomous driving, and many of you have probably seen impressive videos of autonomous cars driving around California. You might have also seen some scary clips of those same cars getting into bad accidents. If you watch enough of these videos, you might notice that the ones showing accidents tend to happen late at night or in bad weather. You might wonder, would an autonomous car be a benefit or a detriment to me getting home safely in a big winter storm? My research goal is to develop autonomous car algorithms that can safely work in all weather conditions. On my slide, you can see what different autonomous car sensors see in both sunny and snowy weather. Currently, many autonomous cars make use of LiDAR sensors, which are like the eyes of the car. Unfortunately, just like our eyes, LiDAR can't see through snowflakes, and in a heavy storm can become completely blocked. For the snowy day row on the bottom, we can see that both the camera image in the first column and the red LiDAR points in the second column are affected by the snow. As a result, the radar sensor shown in the third column has gained popularity. Although radar measures fewer points compared to LiDAR, it's able to see them through the snow. So, with LiDAR, we're very safe in most weather conditions, but can't drive in really bad weather. With radar, we can drive in bad weather, but we're not as safe as we could be in most other cases. My research gets the best of both worlds by using sensor fusion, which combines data from multiple sensors to improve safety. The challenge for sensor fusion lies in matching data between different sensors. For example, how can we tell that a red LiDAR point and a red radar point come from the same object? To answer this question, I'm using machine learning to tell me which red points are easiest to match between the two sensors. Then, I use LiDAR points from clear days and combine them with radar points in all weather conditions. As shown in the last column, this lets the car see as much information as possible, regardless of the weather. My goal is to make it safer for you to be on the road in a true Canadian winter. Perhaps in the future, when you need to get somewhere during a big winter storm, you can simply sit back and let an autonomous car see what your eyes can't. Thank you.
There's so many things I want to say, but I will save those for the lunch to follow. Our next student is Parisa Varshusas. Parisa is a PhD student in biomolecular sciences, and the title of this piece is Regulation of Vitamin A Metabolism During Embryonic Calvaria Bone Formation. Welcome, Parisa.
Are you seeking to improve your health and energy? It has never been easier than now. Our products improve immunity, control stress, and boost energy levels. Pick one of our products today, not later. It was just one example of the many advertisements we are all exposed to daily. However, has anyone told us about the potential side effects of intaking excessive amount of nutrients? Do you believe everyone requires the same amount of nutrients? It's not simple to answer to these questions, and it completely depends on your health condition, diet, and age. When it comes to pregnancy, it gets more serious because any change in mother's diet affects the growing baby. Every year, millions of babies are born with a birth defect that many of them can be prevented. One of the main reasons for these disorders is deficiency or excess of nutrients in mother's diet. And this is one of the main questions I am trying to answer in my PhD project. The question is that how change in the level of vitamin A can affect the growing baby, with a specific focus on craniofacial bones formation. To investigate this, I employed a cell line that can differentiate two bone cells and treated them with different levels of vitamin A to see how it affects the process of bone formation. Here I provide you with a simplified result of this study. In the top picture, you can see cells treated with normal amount of vitamin A that we can usually intake from our diet. As you see, these cells successfully differentiated to bone cells and deposited calcium. The red color you see in this picture is calcium, which is the main component of bone. But in the second picture, you can see cells treated with high concentration of vitamin A, the amount that we usually intake from supplements or medications. As it is obvious, there is a significant difference between these two groups, and the second one failed to deposit sufficient amount of calcium, which can cause a broad range of birth defects. This story is the same for all the nutrients. So, in any age you are, you should know 20% of your dietary behavior explain 80% of your health issues. So next time, when you go to stores and see huge shelves of supplements, different kind of supplements, first ask yourself that do you really need to intake them or not? Thank you.
Thank you, Parisa. Next up, we have Madeline Fabiano. She's doing her MSc in kinesiology, and the title of this piece is The SHINE Program, Fostering Physical Activity Among Female Undergraduate Students.
By a show of hands, if you knew there was something you could do to reduce your stress level or risk a developing chronic disease, would you do it? As you can see, most of us would. So what if I told you that there's a free and flexible solution to achieve this? This solution is physical activity. But according to national statistics, less than half of us in this room engage in enough exercise to reap such benefits. More specifically, us females tend to engage in less physical activity than our male peers at all ages. The literature has attributed this to a lack of social support and confidence, two factors that decrease further in university. In this, female undergraduate students don't have the skills to engage in physical activity, which has been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. This was verified in my honors thesis, where I interviewed female undergraduate students to identify what prevented them from engaging in physical activity. This revealed how the pandemic deprived them of developmental experiences that had previously fostered physical activity habits, knowledge, and comfort in formal gym settings. As I'm sure you can all recall, the pandemic abruptly ended in-person activities for not only months, but years. This also ended organized sports and structured gym classes, leaving today's young females with the lack of skills to navigate independent physical activity and hindering their ability to truly shine in this setting. But despite the research in this area, there's a lack of programs tailored to improving their engagement. I aim to bridge this gap in my master's thesis by tailoring a mentorship program to the needs of female undergraduate students who want to become more active but don't necessarily know how. I'll achieve this through what I've named the SHINE program, which stands for Supporting Her in Navigating Exercise. SHINE program participants will engage in physical activity 3 times a week for 30 minutes for a total of 8 weeks, using free campus resources along with random assignment to create 2 groups of students, either with or without the support of a knowledgeable mentor. It's hoped that the addition of peer support and mentorship will act as a catalyst for engagement and nurture factors such as confidence and knowledge, 2 main barriers identified in my undergrad research. The data collection methods will include surveys and interviews at 3 time points to identify the more effective method, which will be shared with campus stakeholders to inform future health promotion efforts. Through this, I hope to not only provide female undergraduate students with the tools to improve their engagement, but to create resources to enable future Thunderwolves to truly shine. But before we part ways, what's preventing you from shining?
Thank you, Madeline. Next up, we have Zoe Gagnon from Brock University. She's doing her master's in biological sciences, and the title of this is I Remember It All Too Well, the Role of Semaphorin 3A in Learning and Memory Formation.
Hi everyone. I'll start my talk today by asking you to take a trip with me down memory lane, starting by trying to think of the earliest possible memory you can remember from your childhood. For you, and for me, this is likely from around the age of 3 or 4 years old. But why is that? We learn so many important things during infancy, yet we experience this strange phenomenon known as infantile amnesia. I can remember things from 5 or 10 years ago, but not from infancy. Hi everyone, my name is Zoe Gagnon, and I am a second-year master's student at Brock University, and my thesis focuses on studying learning and memory across a lifetime. So if we begin today, you can think about the brain as really a neural circuit. Neural circuits contain thousands of connections, just like the ones you see on the slide here. Over time, some of these connections need to be weakened, like you see in the left side of the slide, and some of these connections need to be strengthened, like you see on the right side of the slide. But what are the factors that can mediate how these connections are formed or eliminated or changed over time? And how does that relate to memory? Well, here I present to you the protein of interest for my study, semaphorin 3A. Semaphorin 3A is involved in the formatting, modifying, and elimination of connections over time. And interestingly, in my master's thesis, at least in mice, during that period of infancy, we see that SEMA3A-related proteins and signaling is significantly decreased, meaning that perhaps it's associated with the learning period, where we're making a bunch of new connections. However, after that period of infancy ends, we start to see rises in the level of semaphorin 3A proteins. So what does that mean? Well, perhaps as more semaphorin 3A related proteins start to form, this allows for solid memory formation. In further studies, where I've looking at adult brains after spatial learning, we also see changes to semaphorin proteins, suggesting that this process doesn't just impact infancy, but rather persists into adulthood as well. So why do we care about infancy when I started talking about adulthood? Well, if you think about later in life, there are a number of neurodegenerative diseases that start to affect memory formation. So I'm saying, let's go back to the basics. Let's start at infancy, go across a lifetime, figure out how memories are formed, figure out how they're persisting and how they're modified over time, and take that as a way to combat neurodegenerative disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. All right, our next student is Julia Tropak from Queen's University. Julia is a master's student in biological chemistry, and this one is titled Bacteria, Friend or Foe?
I should be dead. But wait, before you get too concerned, let me explain. I've had bacterial pneumonia twice. Once when I was 2, and again when I was 6. The second time I had it, I remember having to take this disgusting cherry-flavored medicine. My mother would beg and plead with me to take it. Julia, you're very sick, and if you don't take this medicine, you could die. And with all the conviction a 6-year-old could have, I said back to her, I'd rather die. Now, my mother was right, of course. Without that medicine I now know as antibiotics, I likely would have died. The advent of antibiotics in the early 20th century raised life expectancies worldwide by 10 to 20 years. An infected wound was no longer a death sentence. Bacterial pneumonia was survivable. Antibiotics seemed like the answer to everyone's prayers. But with overuse and misuse, bacteria started to develop ways to fight back. When treated improperly with antibiotics, tougher bacteria survive, giving rise to new generations that are entirely resistant to current antibiotics. Now, the best way to slow the spread of antibiotic resistance is to make sure we don't overuse or misuse them. But what can we do about bacteria that are already resistant? Well, we can either resensitize them to antibiotics that already exist, or we can develop new antibiotics that act in completely new ways to fight resistant bacteria. The question then becomes, how do we find such specialized molecules? We've all heard the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Well, many bacteria naturally produce specialized molecules that allow them to fight competitors in their environment. We can look into the genomes of these so-called friendly bacteria in order to figure out their molecule-making potential. My research focuses on a genus of marine bacteria called Pseudoaltromonas, which was only classified about 30 years ago, so it has lots of unlocked potential. Within Pseudoaltromonas cells are factories that produce a plethora of small molecules, some of which have antibiotic properties. My specific species of Pseudoaltromonas, called Ludio violacea, or Ludio, has the potential of making 15 molecules, 12 of which are completely unknown. My goal is to isolate these molecules and test them for use as antibiotics. So far, I've isolated all of Ludio's molecules in one big group and used a technique called liquid chromatography to separate them into 12 different groups. Of these 12 groups, 3 of them kill Staph aureus, and another 4 kill both E. coli and Staph aureus. My next goal is to isolate these individual molecules from these groups and test them for antibiotic activity. I really like to think about the impact my research will have in the future. Perhaps one day I'll have my own daughter who will complain about having to take some strawberry-flavored medicine, and I'll get to tell her I discovered that medicine with help from my friend Ludio violacea.
Thank you, Julia. Next up, we have Jenna Bolzan from Trent University, and she's doing her master's in cognitive psychology. And the title of this piece is Standing Up for Science, Paying Attention to Replication Issues Can Unearth a Ton of Problems.
Imagine working for the Department of Defense. Every day, you search drone footage of Ukraine to identify a possible attack from Russia. The cost of misidentifying a target could be catastrophic. You could accidentally bomb a group of children hiding in the forest thinking it's an infiltration. In such high-stake environments, every step must be taken to improve attentional performance. Even a 1% improvement could save thousands of lives and billions of dollars. That's why the military has turned to researchers such as myself to find ways to improve attention. Now, imagine if someone found that just simply standing could improve attention. Forget spending billions on new technology, just stand up. Well, this is where my research began. We attempted to replicate DeVoley and Abrams' demonstration that posture affects visual search. We failed to replicate. We also failed to replicate their demonstrations that posture affects reading and task switching. So maybe we just didn't make our task difficult enough. Were we just unlucky? I therefore ran 2 experiments where I doubled and tripled the search difficulty. No effect of posture on attention. I then ran a 3rd experiment where I increased the difficulty of the posture manipulation by having participants stand on a slanted surface. Still no effect of posture on attention. So where to next? Well, one possibility is that in our research, participants sacrificed their standing performance in order to perform better on the visual search. So I ran 2 dual task experiments to test whether the theoretical concept could produce DeVoley's effects. They do not. So this made me take a hard look at other research by DeVoley and Abrams. Abrams is famous for his demonstration that visual processing is more efficient near the hands, called the near hand effect. Well, they recently reported the surprising observation that the near hand effect also occurs for reading and imagination. So why not replicate? And my results? Again, show no effects. So it started for me as a project that felt intuitively true, as a lot of people love working at their standing desks, has turned into a serious replication crisis. These are world-famous cognitive psychologists, and I've run 11 experiments, and every single one has failed to replicate when I've used larger sample sizes. So I'm left asking, where does the problem lie? Is there something in my research I'm missing, or is there something going on in the original research produced? That's the next question I face. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Our next student is Bria Hughes-Small from Ontario Tech University, and she's completing her MSc in Forensic Psychology. The title of this piece is Disentangling the Unique Impacts of Socioeconomic Status and Adversity on the Development of Neural Networks and Social Cognitive Functioning in Children and Adolescents.
Would you believe me if I said your brain is like a flower? If you plant a seed and nurture it, you are likely to have a beautiful, blooming flower. But if you forget to water it for a few days, it doesn't get enough sun, and the local bunny nibbles on its leaves, it'll still grow, just not the same. Like flowers, children don't get to choose their environment or the resources they have access to. They don't get to pick their parents or how well they get treated. And like flowers, children will continue to grow in their environment, even if it's missing some of the necessities, like adequate nutrition, healthy relationships, or cognitive stimulation. Parental resources and adverse experiences are 2 of the most powerful factors when discussing development. We know that children from low-resource environments tend to have poor performance on measures of memory, attention control, and information processing. We also know that children who experience adversity report architectural differences in key brain structures, such as the hippocampus, tricky word. However, many studies lump these concepts together, making it difficult to determine how they individually affect brain development. But that's where I come in. My research disentangles environment and experience to see if they have unique contributions to the growing brain. Using brain imaging techniques, we compared over 250 child and adolescent brains to adult brains to see if the child brains look and function like the adult brains and determine if this similarity is influenced by the child's environment. Rather than looking at sunlight, soil, and water, we're looking at the effects of parental education and negative life events. So, what do we find? Firstly, we found that environment and experience indeed exert different influences on the brain. Parental education supports higher order brain cognition, such as memory and reasoning ability, while adversity hinders interpersonal capabilities, such as interpreting social cues. We also found that less adversity was associated with a more mature brain, which was associated with better social abilities. But what does this all mean? The environment that you grow up in and the experiences you have influence how your brain develops, and therefore who you are, but they do so in different ways. We hope our results shed light on the effects of environmental factors so that targeted interventions can be created that mediate risk factors and enhance protective factors within a child's environment. While we may not be able to change a child's home life or what has already happened to them, we can nurture their development so that their brain function can blossom into a beautiful garden of skills and abilities.
Thank you, Bria. Now we have Ana Hernandez Martinez de la Riva from Carleton University. She's doing her PhD in biology, and this piece is entitled, "Where is Jack? How to Find Rare Plants."
Have you ever played the game Where is Waldo? How did you find Waldo? Did you go top to bottom, tracing a path with your finger? Or did you just let your eyes wander through the image, looking for red and white? Well, my research is like that, but instead of finding a person, I'm interested in finding rare plants. Rare plants are those that are uncommon. They are often found in very specific habitats or in small areas. Because of their characteristics, many rare plants are threatened and at risk of extinction. So, if we want to protect them, we need to know where they are and how many there are. But finding these plants can be hard, especially when there are few of them or when they blend in with their environment. This is where my research comes in. I wanted to know if it was better to look for these plants following a path or wandering around. So, I hid some Jack-in-the-pulpit plants in the forest, this beauty over here, and asked people to find them, either following a path on their phones or wandering freely. I then compared how many plants were found with each method. Which one do you think did better? Well, originally, I thought following a path would be better. And let me explain you why. When I played the game Where is Waldo with my brother, I was always the very organized one. Top to bottom, left, right, always following a path. My brother just look at the image, just wander around. And so, although he sometimes found Waldo first, I thought my strategy was superior, because I made sure I looked for Waldo in the entire image. Surely he wouldn't escape. And so I thought the same thing would happen in this experiment. I thought following a path would be better. But guess what? Surprise, surprise, both methods actually found a very similar number of plants. I couldn't believe this. Why did this happen? Well, I can think of two potential reasons. One, maybe it was hard for people to follow a path on their phones. Imagine using Google Maps, but in a place where all the streets look similar and didn't have names. Probably very hard to orient yourself in that situation. And two, maybe it's because as humans, we are very bad at multitasking. Unfortunately, very few plants were found regardless of the method. So what this means is that if we want to improve our chances of finding these plants, we need to keep playing Where is Waldo? Thank you.
Next up, we have Jordan Carrillo Zarita from Toronto Metropolitan University, a PhD in molecular science, and the title of this piece is Building Better Processed Foods, Block by Block.
Were you ever told not to play with your food? Because as a food scientist, playing with foods is my job. I see foods the same way I see Lego, with each ingredient being its own building block that I put together to create new foods. Take peanut butter, for example. Peanut butter, in its simplest form, is made from peanuts that are ground into a paste, giving you a spread of peanut solids and their released oil. Do you know what the worst part of opening a jar of natural peanut butter is? Well, for me, it's when you open the jar and you see a layer of oil sitting atop the solids. Try remixing that. This separation of the oil and solids occurs as the solids want to sink to the bottom of the jar. Now, producers prevent this separation by using additives like fully hydrogenated vegetable oil, which will thicken the peanut butter and slow down the sinking solids. This addition also gives you a smooth variety peanut butter, my personal favorite, which has a spreadable texture and long shelf life. Hydrogenated vegetable oils are a common thickener in many processed foods, but they are high in saturated fats, and consuming them increases your risk for heart disease and stroke. All of us here have loved ones to take care of, so taking care of ourselves by watching what we eat is important. But I get it. Health foods don't satisfy the same as junk foods. Well, I'm here to say that maybe we can have our smooth peanut butter and spread it too. For my project, I wanted to rebuild processed foods like smooth peanut butter, replacing thickeners high in saturated fats with nutritious, protein-rich building blocks. When I think of proteins, I think of health and building muscle. But proteins are also used to build foods. Proteins are shaped like spheres, but when we heat them, they unravel and stretch out their arms, connecting to each other to thicken our foods. We see this occur in dairy foods like cheese and yogurt, where whey proteins provide this effect. So why not try it in peanut butter? Data from my lab has shown that whey proteins can thicken peanut butter models, slowing down this oil-solid separation without the need for saturated fats. We hope to take the same approach and use plant-based proteins too, so that our technique can be used in all sorts of foods and be accessible to people with all sorts of diets. In playing with peanut butter, I have outlined how we can rebuild better processed foods, block by block, bad fats to no fats, and protein by protein. The next time that you bite into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I hope it packs a protein punch without the hard-hitting fats. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Next up, we have Samra Khan. She's doing her PhD in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, and this one is called Sugar-Coated Cancer Vaccines for Sweet Adaptive Oncoimmunology.
Every day in Canada, 655 people get diagnosed and 238 are lost to cancer every single day. At this rate, statistically, half of us present in this room are expected to have cancer in our lifetimes. So whenever I'm asked why I chose chemical cancer vaccines as field of my research, these numbers are the very reason. In my PhD with my professor, Dr. John F. Trent at University of Windsor, we are trying to find ways to train the human body to recognize cancer as a threat and initiate an immune response like it would do against any disease-causing bacteria or viruses. You must be wondering, Samra, shouldn't the body be doing that in the first place? Well, no. Cancer cells, by definition, are the cells that escape the immune system. That is why cancer spread jumping stages. So, I'm working on designing and developing TACA-based cancer vaccines, which stands for Tumor-Associated Carbohydrate Antigens. A mouthful, I know. So let me explain. On a healthy cell, we have glycoproteins present on the cell surface. These are carbohydrates, essentially sugars, combined with proteins, performing various functions. But what happens in the cancer cells is that since cancer cells are far behind like a normal cell, these glycopeptides get broken and are present in short versions. The beauty is, these sugars, known as TACAs, are only present on cancer cells and entirely absent on the healthy cell. This gives us the leverage to design targeted cancer vaccines. Currently, I'm trying to publish my computational result, which shows that our cancer vaccine design intelligently mimics the natural TACAs with the ability to initiate an immune response. And in my organic synthetic lab, I'm trying to make these incredibly hard to synthesize molecules. So my end goal is that my sugar-coated cancer vaccines can create a firewall against TACAs. So whenever there's a cancer cell carrying TACAs, trying to sneak out, our immune system recognizes it and kills it. That's the sweet revenge I want against cancer. Listen, I am an individual who switched from business studies to medicinal chemistry because I am angry at cancer. And I know many of you who would have lost a loved one to cancer can relate. So the impact of my research is that we get to prevent cancer in the first place. And I hope for a day when this number 238 becomes a 0. Thank you for listening.
Is Saskakumar Deva Sika Mani from the University of Guelph. He's doing his master's degree in food science, and the title of this is Microwave Cooking of Food. How hard can it be?
As a matter of fact, 96% of North American households have at least one microwave oven. There are several instances in our life where we would rely on a microwave oven for cooking convenience. So, join me in pondering how often you use microwave oven for anything, from heating our breakfast to making our late night saviors, coffees. Quite a lot, right? But my question for you all is, are we doing this right? After microwaving, have you ever noticed that some part of your food is extremely hot, overcooked and dry, while some part of your food is wet, moist and undercooked? This non-uniformity often ends up in an unpleasant eating experience. But do you know the shape of the container which you put inside your microwave oven is one of the major culprit behind this non-uniformity? This is where I opened my microwave doors for a research. We studied different geometrical containers resembling plate, bowl, stand-up pouches and takeout containers and filled them with 1 pound of baby potatoes and microwaved them. During microwaving, we constantly monitored and measured the temperature of the potato within the package. So how did I do this? In our lab, we modified the microwave oven with fiber optic temperature measurement devices. These devices have the ability to measure the temperature of the food for every single second. From our observations, we can determine how the packaging geometry or the arrangement of potatoes will affect the heat distribution. So why did I choose fiber optics? Well, we cannot use any metal-based detector inside the oven unless I want to burn my lab down. We relied on fiber optics since they are microwave safe and it has high speed and accuracy in data collection. From our observations, we found that arranging the potatoes in a plate or a rectangular tray provided more uniformly cooked product in shorter duration. But when we opted for a bowl or a stand-up pouches, the time taken by the microwave to cook the same amount of product to same level of uniformity has been increased by 2 to 3 times. Our research will help the food industries in making better packaging structures for microwavable foods and also helps consumers like us to make informed decisions. So remember, it's just not about what we eat anymore, it's also about in what we heat. So next time, choose your container wisely. Have a safe microwaving. Thank you.
Wow. This has been quite the morning, quite the experience. What an incredible gift to learn about some of these projects that these students are working on, and to just really see the tangible ways in which there are going to be opportunities for these elements of research to be brought into practice. It's really an incredible thing. I also must say, sitting up here, one of the vantage points that the audience members don't get is the clock ticking down. And I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit nervous myself right now, and there was nothing really on the line for me. So I also must give kudos to the to the students for not having that take over the experience for them. You all spoke with such confidence about the work that you're doing, which is a really, really wonderful thing. And for some of them, it really was 3, 2, 1, and they finished right on time. It was pretty amazing. So I thank you all for being here today. This has been an incredible thing to be in this room. You can really feel the energy and the encouragement from this audience, and I think one of the things that we all do, and I know many of you here work in graduate studies and are supporting our graduate students, and I think one of the things that we really do well in Canada is open really significant spaces for our students to feel empowered in the work that they're doing, and you can really feel that in this room today. So I thank you so much for being part of that, for part of our entire educational community, really, across this province. So thank you for being here and being so supportive. We are now the competition is now over. We are going to allow for our judges now to retire and deliberate about what their thoughts are on the competition and on the competitors. And so the guests now who are here, you're welcome to just make yourself at home here at Lakehead University. The wonderful thing is you are unlikely to get lost on this campus. This building, feel free to wander around, have a look around. If you're really interested in bugs, for example, wander up to the 3rd floor. We have some displays up there. You can wander in the gardens. We will be reconvening for lunch for those of you that are joining us for lunch. That will be at 12:15, just over here in the Commons area. So you really can't get lost, you really can't mess anything up. Please ask questions of any of our staff here at Lakehead too, because we really want you to feel at home here at Lakehead University. So the judges, you'll be going to room 2005 where you can deliberate. And we are also going to ask our students now to come up for a picture together. And just so everyone here knows, another really interesting element of today is that the students will also vote for a student's choice for this competition as well. And so we'll announce that as well at the lunch. So please make yourself at home. And students, please come on up to the front. Thanks, everyone.